Ready to jump into intermediate algebra. All that was kind of a quick review. And now if you'll turn to your one-step book, about page 51, I've got some problems involved in factoring by grouping. So as an example problem, from page 52, factoring by grouping, number 4 is x cubed minus 3x squared plus 9x minus 27. And I just want to, before I say any more, I just want to do this example by grouping the first two and the last two terms together. First of all, you see there's no common factor all the way through? There is no common factor. If there had been a common factor, I'd be taking that out first. And if you can count to 4, you can see it's not a trinomial, right? All right, so it's not a trinomial. So let's group the first two and the last two and take out from the first two the common factor, which would be what? X squared. And what's left in the parentheses? X minus 3. Okay? And then from the next two, let's take out the common factor, which is 9. Oops, I got the wrong color. Plus 9. And then what's left in the parentheses when I take out the 9? X minus 3. So now do you see there's a common factor in this problem? X minus 3 is the common factor. See, this is a common factor. Right here. This thing right here is a common factor. So if I've got a common factor, I take out the common factor and I put it down right here. Right here. The common factor is x minus 3. I take out that common factor and I put it down there. And then what's left? X squared plus 9. Okay? Now that's a fairly simple problem of grouping where you group the first two and the last two. There's a way you can tell whether you can factor the first two and the last two by grouping. And that's to take the ratio of the first divided by the second and see if it equals the third divided by the fourth. In other words, if you take 1 divided by negative 3, 1 divided by negative 3, is that the same as 9 divided by negative 27? And if it's the same ratio, that means that this is a good strategy to use. Okay, was there a question on that?
Would the x minus 3, would that be squared?
I knew somebody was going to ask that. I thank you for asking that question. The question was, since there's an x minus 3 here and an x minus 3, wouldn't there be an x minus 3 squared that we take out for a common? Let me do something else. What if I had x squared a plus 9a? What's the common factor? A. So what we do, we take out the a. You see, if we take out the a, what would you get? A times parentheses of what's left, which is x squared plus 9. Is that right? Can you check that? By distributive property, okay? You check it by distributive property. You go ax squared, which is x squared a, and then you go a times 9 is 9a. See? Now, what was the common factor here? A. It was common. That means it's the same. And when you take out a common factor, you put it down. You don't put it down twice. Let me give you an easier example. What if I had 4x plus 4y? What's the common factor? 4. So what do you do? Take out the 4. And what does that leave? X plus y, right? So you don't take out 2 4s. There were 2 4s here. What do you take out? The common factor, which is 4. So nobody wants to take out 2 4s here. Nobody wants to take out 2 a's here. But right here, everybody looks at this problem over here and they say x minus 3, x minus 3. For some reason, everybody wants to take out the quantity squared. But resist that. What you do, you find the common factor, you write down the common factor, and then you put down into parentheses what's left. Okay? All right, let's do another example like that. That was number 4. Let's do number 8. Number 8, it says x cubed minus 5x squared minus 4x plus 20. So, do you see a common factor in the first two? X squared. So let's take out the x squared, and what's left? X minus 5. What's the common factor in the last two? 4, okay? So if we take out a 4, now if you take out just a 4, and make it like take out a positive 4. Don't put this here yet. Don't put the plus there. But if you took out a plus 4, what would be left in the first position if you took out a plus 4? Negative x. Is that matching up with this? And in order for this factoring by grouping to work, you have to have exactly the same thing here as you do there. Because if you don't have a common factor, you're dead in the water. You're not going anywhere. You must have a common factor. So what we'll have to do is, to make this match up, we'll have to factor out what? Not 4, but negative 4. So let's factor out a negative 4. And what does that leave in the first position? X? And then if you take out a negative 4, it would have to be a negative 5. And thank goodness it is, because it's got to be to match up with this one. And if you ever get an x minus 4 and an x plus 4, or an x minus 5 and an x plus 5, if this doesn't match up with this, you got to go back and find what you did wrong, or else try something else, because you're not allowed to factor out a common factor if you don't have a common factor to factor out. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we got a common factor, don't we? What's the common factor? So we take out the common factor and we put down x minus 5 as the common factor, right? And what's left?
X squared minus 4.
Right, what's left is going to be this x squared in the first position, and then minus 4. Now, everybody's trained about this x squared minus 4, right? What you going to do with x squared minus 4? Factor it, okay, into x minus 2x plus 2, right? And now this x squared, this x minus 5 is going to still be out in front, okay? Very good. I think you'll be able to do that now. Now, look at page 53. Page 53, we start into the real intermediate algebra stuff. By the way, this is intermediate algebra one step at a time. It sells for about $4 in the bookstore. Nobody makes